Hi and welcome to the show. I am honored and humbled to have my guest today who comes from royalty. Born to very religious Muslim parents in Cambia district in Sierra Leone, he previously served as Director General of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization and was the first sub-Saharan African to have this role. He is the recipient of numerous awards, a former Minister of Trade, Industry and State Enterprises with a PhD in Agricultural Economics from the University of Illinois. Today, he is co-founder of the African Energy Leaders Group and Commissioner of the Energy Transitions Commission. Dr. Kande Yumkella, welcome to The Scoop. Dr. Yumkella, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sparing the time to talk to me. It's wonderful to have you. Doc, tell me a little bit about growing up in Sierra Leone. You had this, I mean, you came from a family that was very prominent in society. Your father was a chief. Tell me a little bit about growing up in Sierra Leone. What are your first memories? What do you remember?
My childhood was partly very comfortable, very exciting. I was born, my father was already a chief. Mm-hmm. My father was already an active player in the politics of Sierra Leone because he was minister with Sir Milton Magai, the prime minister who gave us independence. He was a successful businessman. He was one of the largest, if not the largest, private farmer as well. So he was an enterprising man, very energetic. So I grew, my first, let's say, up to age 9, very comfortable, aristocratic family. But my father was a tough guy. So he really was tough on me in terms of discipline. He wanted me to think above my age grade. So wanted me to read, no patois or local jargon in the house.
To English. Actually English, proper English.
You have to speak proper English. Or the native language. So he wanted us to be good in English, well educated, but enshrined in tradition. Very tough guy.
And how many siblings did you have?
Well, at that time when I was growing up, there were 9 of us.
Wow.
Of course, being a chief, he added many more later.
Oh, wow.
But there were 9 of us, and he used to say, I'm the odd man out, because everybody was in pairs, and I was number 5. So he said, okay, you are my partner, so, which means more attention.
So more pressure.
Which I didn't like.
More pressure on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you rebel against this?
No. I welcomed it because I admired my father and feared him. And so I was happy to go to school in the city of Freetown, but then spend all the holidays in the plantation. We had a huge plantation. He was very ambitious. He had the largest private plantation then, about a square mile for all time, and he dreamt of building an oil mill and a factory, and he would talk about the families of Nestle, Cadbury, and he said, you see, your village is on the river. So he'll tell me his dreams. Your village is on the river. Look at the great cities of Europe or the United States. So I was happy to come back because on the plantation you're free, you run around as a kid. So those were the early years, and then things went south. We became political dissidents, and in 1967, 68, 69, they actually burnt down the plantation. The government of the day went after people who were prominent. Because then the dictator wanted to consolidate power in his hand. He was dreaming of his one-party state. So he went after prominent families and anybody else who was too prominent politically. So you can see the early years, wonderful, ambition, well-cultured. And then we had this period, 25 years, where you're a dissident family. And they tried to destroy the family, assassination attempts, everything. And I've told people that I'm happy that I went through those phases. And happy that my father always would insist, today you're not riding in the car. Today you're going to ride in the truck. And he would say, you know why? I found this. You have to find your own. And you have to know that comfort can disappear in 5 minutes. So when the hard times came, one was ready mentally.
So how did the family go through this? What did your father think? You said assassination attempts. So I assume he was constantly feeling under threat. Did that change the way he interacted with all of you? Was he?
I saw step by step, my family being destroyed. Yeah, every business was attacked. I saw him taken away for 1 week, and we didn't know why. They'll come and search the house just to harass. And I saw them destroy every business venture, export business, import business, farming. I saw them ban him from going to his village for 9-10 years. He has to go and report to the Criminal Investigation Department, the CID. This was the investigating arm. I saw them burn down the plantation. And then when he's released from jail, he'll come home. It was either my advantage or my disadvantage. I was the only son in the house. The other one was in the boarding school. The other one was in England studying. So I was the son in the house. So he'll come home from prison or from a 1-week detention for no reason, and he'll just talk to me. And of course, I was too young. I want to go out and play soccer. Yeah. And he'll say to me, do you know what it's like not to have freedom to move from the living room to your bedroom? I say, no, sir. Well, let me tell you what it's like. And you can see him unloading. Yeah. What happened with him in jail, in prison. But then you'll see him jump up and say, so now let's go to the quarry. And did you check on the workers today? I say, well, I didn't have time, sir. Yeah. I just came from school. But it's 2 hours since you came from school. Why aren't you there? So he'll switch from those roles, from unloading on me so that I learn from his hard times, to then suddenly, he was always doing something else. And he told me once, do you know why I have different businesses? I say, no, sir. When your enemy know that you are only dependent on one source, they kill it. He said, so you always, in other words, I was learning diversification and portfolio management. Yeah. Yeah. So he had a quarry. He had a fishing cooperative. He was still doing his farming. He was still trying to do import business.
Didn't he feel that you might have been better off going away? Did he not want to send you guys away for your own safety, send you away to different schools? Because you spent that entire time in Sierra Leone. You didn't leave at any point until after university.
No, and I think it's good he did not. Because, you see, my father was also a pragmatist. He put me in a Catholic school, but at home he was a strict Muslim. Because the Catholics had the best education. He was very friendly with the bishops and archbishops, because he had also helped them establish the first secondary school in our province, the Colin 10 secondary school, and he was the first chairman of the board. So he sent 3 of us, his 3 sons, to Catholic schools. But at home, strict Islamic tradition. You have to wake up at 5 in the morning, study, pray at 6, and you do your chores and get ready to go to school.
Did you get confused with this at some time?
No, in the boarding home, Catholic boarding home, I'll sneak out of the dormitory and go back to the chapel and pray as a Muslim. In the morning, I was up again, ready to serve in Mass, and it was not compulsory. So one day the priest asked me, I was in Form 2 or Form 3, so meaning 12, 13 years old. Kande, why do you do this? You come to Mass in the morning and you come to Mass in the evening. You don't have to do both. And then we've watched you sneak out at night and go pray. I use the same rug that this priest would. And I said to him, Father, because it's the same God. You call him the Lord, we call him Allah. And he said, Father Koren, he said to me, okay, Kande, let's help you understand our side. It's not exactly the same. And of course, in my head, when he was talking to me, I was saying to myself, don't try to tell me to convert. I can't go face my father at home. But I tell you, it's one of the best things that happened to me. To understand cultural and religious diversity. To benefit from the discipline of the priest, but they're nurturing. Yeah, I was lucky. There were teachers who really took me in. Yeah, the priests made me, they were like the complement of my father. I never had to think at my age level. They would tell me about philosophy, yeah, of course poetry. Until today, when I'm in a mood, I sing those songs, yeah, from church. You know, how great thou art, yeah. That's just motivational for me, to tell myself that whatever I'm going through, there's God up there. So in both ways, I am grateful that I was able to blend that. Growing up, and by the time I got to the state and started learning about cultural diversity and all of that, I said, wow, I had the benefit of that. But we've talked about fathers, should we talk about mothers?
Yes, that was my next question.
Because my father was a busy man. You can tell that he wasn't home. So it was left to my stepmother, you know. And I tell people, a lot of credit to my stepmother, because she was like a hawk. She can tell things from miles away. So she was another disciplinarian.
What about your actual mother?
And my actual mother as well. I give credit to her as well. Because I say to people, if I had been only my father's son, I would have been a tough guy, a rough guy, maybe even a little bit arrogant. My mother was this peasant, illiterate princess because her father was a chief. Her father crowned my father.
We'll be right back with Dr. Kende Yumkella. Stay with me. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Kende Yumkella. Doc, before the break we were talking about your mom. Can you tell me some of the lessons that she taught you?
My mother taught me humility, and what I have seen in my career, the ambition is good, the hard work and determination, confidence is good, but I tell you, the humility
Absolutely.
that brings people to you, that make you understand the other side. Because my mother was that peasant woman who was left in the village. My stepmother was in the city. My father planned everything.
So you lived between the two of them?
During the months you were in school, you were with the stepmother, disciplinarian, education, Western lifestyle. And boom, I was in the village with my mother. A literate peasant lady, but a princess. A humble princess where the whole village, she was feeding the orphans in the village. So I come there and she immediately raids my suitcase. And I come home, I don't see my fourth pair of short pants. And I say, Mom, somebody took my short pair of pants. No, I took it. You have too many. And I was like, what's wrong with her? Because she gave it to somebody else's kid. Right. Until today, she's still alive. My stepmother and my father passed. I look at my mom and I say, thank God for her. Because, and it dawned on me later on when I was contesting to be Director General of United Nations Industrial Development Organization. The British ambassador then, Ambassador Jenkins, Peter Jenkins, he's retired in England. He said to me, Kende, you see what he had hosted a luncheon for me after my victory in the British Embassy. So the whole EU ambassadors were there. And he said, Kende, you have many talents. You're a born leader, blah, blah, blah. He said, but there's one thing you have you should never lose. He said, it's that compassion and humility that draws people like me to you who don't know who the hell you are. He said, it's not just your leadership qualities, but there's that element about you that drew the rest of EU around you. We know you're an intellectual, you're a professional, you're a leader, but there's that chemistry. And I said, that's from my mother, the peasant lady. I guess what I'm saying is, you don't pick your parents. I was lucky. I had an upbringing that gave me good education, self-discipline from home, from the priests, ambition, and also the feeling for excellence. I wanted to be the best at anything because I watched these engineers, doctors come home. I wanted to be like them or better than them. And of course, for my father, I wanted to be greater than him. And he would always say to me, you'll never be like me.
Pressures for you to go into a certain type of field. Did your dad ever say, Kande, I want you to be an economist. I want you to be, strong in agriculture. I want you to be a musician. I mean, was there any pressure from the family in terms of what to study?
That's exactly what he did. And I was one of the top science students in the school at sixth form. So they wanted me into medicine. And I was really into medicine now because I was a top student in biology and chemistry. And I was head prefect of the school. And so they were gearing me towards medicine. I was secretly applying for med school in England. And my father had his own plans, yeah. My elder brother went to economics and he said he'll be the manager of the business. The second brother did farm management. He will manage the farm. And he already had it planned. You will be in marketing to market the produce and take it to the other one. And so he comes home one time to the south to visit my uncle. And my uncle said, oh, Kande is doing so well in biology and chemistry. The principal is so happy. And we're helping him apply to medical schools. And they had a row. They had a big fight.
He must have hit the roof.
And he would not talk to me. And so I already could tell something is wrong here. Maybe the priests and others have told him that I was messing up somewhere that I don't know, because I was such a bookish person at that time. So morning, the next day he wakes up. Of course, I have to come down, and he had done his prayers, and I was cleaning the living room, and he said, "Come here. What is this I hear? You're going to do medicine since when?" And of course, immediately I said, "No, sir, I'm not doing medicine. Your uncle told me that you're applying already to medical schools. You are going into agriculture. You owe your people something. You finish, you go to Jala University College, which was the agricultural college, and you will come back and take care of your people."
But he didn't see medicine and being a doctor as being something that you could help people?
That was my uncle's argument. My uncle had the largest poultry farm. He was a medical doctor, the largest poultry farm in the South. And he's told my father was not an intellectual, yeah.
Very street smart.
Yeah, senior Cambridge was all he did. He wanted to be a lawyer, but he became a chief and everything. And so my uncle said, "Chief, there is a difference between a farmer and an agriculturist. There can be a doctor and be a farmer and manage your farm. He'll hire people." My father said no. He had another reason. And he said to me, "If you do medicine, you're going to be like all the other kids. You go overseas and you'll never come back. And when you come back, you'll stay in the city. I want you in Samu." The chiefdom is called Samu, S-A-M-U. "So you will go to agriculture." And yes, I ended up studying general agriculture. And he had already planned it. And indeed, in my master's, I did marketing at Cornell, marketing and development policy. And now the joke is that I did all of that as he had planned. But I didn't come back, because when I was finishing my master's, I told him, "Well, I want to do a PhD on an MBA." And he said, "PhD, I need a doctor now in the family."
The irony.
PhD means academic. So I used to say to him, I say, "You see, with all your nice plans, now I'm doing agriculture on the blackboard."
But did you kind of feel a bit of resentment at that time, that your love for biology, chemistry, others were being suppressed?
No, because we had a very good university at Njala. The curriculum was based on the United States land grant tradition. You have the universities of Illinois. It was started by university. It was upgraded as a full university by University of Illinois. So the whole curriculum was science-based.
Is that how you ended up at Illinois for your PhD?
Yeah. So I didn't miss the medicine. However, my uncles were still plotting. They had not given up. They say, "Now you're going to the States." He's not there. You have all the biochemistry and stuff. Now you deviate and go do what you really wanted to do, medicine. In retrospect, my father was right in many ways. Yeah, my father was right. I said later on, the other uncle is still, I said, "Uncle, I could never have been a good doctor." He said, "Why?" "I'm scared of blood." I feel the pain of the person suffering. He said, No, Kande, you would have been trained." I said, "No, my father was right."
Kind of tell me about this. With your kids, how many kids do you have?
We have two. We adopted one.
So with your kids, are you that strict with them? Have you got a plan for them as well? Have you got it all planned out?
I have been very liberal. Of course, clear about what I want, especially my eldest, Binta, to do. The other one is much younger, that my wife adopted. I have been liberal, but I talk to them. Yeah, and the other kids we've raised kids of other family members, and they know that, "Oh, Baba wants you to listen to the news for 24 hours, not MTV." And Baba comes home all excited, and I take them to my events, and they say, "Wow, Baba, look." So I've been liberal. And why? Because my father also, and the other mentors that I have had in my life, what they taught me the most, that is important, to make my choices. Yeah, okay, my father chose agriculture, but he wasn't there with me in the States. Yeah, he wasn't with me 24/7 in boarding home. I could have been smoking. I could have been doing something else, but I did not, because the discipline was there, the ethics was there, and the whole process of making choices. So what I say to kids in general, and family, friends, and their own kids, is that let us help them make their own choices, because we'll not always be there. So it's about ambition, that they should be ambitious, the discipline, good education, and ethics. And for me, religious ethics. So I'm very liberal, both Islamic culture and Christianity. And for them to be able to say, okay, I can do this, I'm free, parents are not here, but you know it's wrong. And it's not wrong just because my parents said it's wrong, because ethically, there's another choice.
We'll be right back with Dr. Kande Yumkella. Stay with me. We have The Scoop on Uber, and it's a first free ride of up to 500 Kenya shillings if you use the promotional code The Scoop. To climb aboard, simply download the free Uber application for your iPhone, Android, or Windows phone. Uber and The Scoop, keeping Africa moving. Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Kande Yumkella. Doc, if young people were going to come to you and say, Dr. Yumkella, what do I do? I'm about to go into university. I'm confused. Where are the opportunities in Africa over the next 5 or 10 years? What do I study? What advice do you give them?
Well, I do a lot of speeches in universities around the world, and which I enjoy very much. You know, these 18-year-old or 21-year-old kids can ask you questions way out of the box. And you go back home and reflect a little. I always emphasize to them that there's no substitute for good education. And for me, that's so key. Trying to be the best educated person in whatever field. Whether you want to be a philosopher and so on, just to be the best. Martin Luther King used to say, if you're going to be a basket weaver, be the best. And so I said to the kids, you can't substitute anything for good education. Second, hard work. Number 3, creativity. Yeah? And I have been able to do that for them because I used to counsel students as well at the University of Illinois and also at Michigan State University when I was teaching. I was also counseling students. And also communications. I learned that from American corporates. They say we want them young because they will come to recruit students. They say we want the 21-year-old, but they should have portable skills. I say, what are they? Okay, good academics, all right. But they should be creative. They should think fast on their feet, and they should communicate well. The rest we can do in the company. We can give them additional skills. But those are portable skills they can take to any field. In terms of opportunities, I mean, of course, I try to challenge kids. Recently, the Ivorians invited me to Côte d'Ivoire for one of their festivals, but to be part of a youth forum. And I said to the kids, you must dream big. Your generation must dream that you should say to yourself as African kids, I want to be the next Bill Gates of Africa. I say nothing less, huh? I want to be the next guy who invents the next rocket going. I say, you know why? Because you have all that knowledge on internet, which we did not have. Yeah? I say, so don't limit your dreams and your ambition. And be ready to network. Link up with kids around the world. If you're in school, if your parents have the money to send you to Oxford or the London School of Economics, make friends for God's sake.
Absolutely.
You never know, that's where your next business partner is sitting. But you should dream that you ought to be the first world. And I say to African leaders, I say, be careful. Our kids are watching Manchester United and Arsenal playing and Real Madrid. They see kids of their age well-fed and happy. They will question us why they are not happy. And there will be our own version of the Arab Spring. Not led by anybody, just the youth revolt. And that's the crisis Africa has to watch.
What do we teach young people? I mean, a lot of them don't want to go into politics. They don't want to go into public service simply because they see it as something that's such a dirty game. But without that, young people, where do you see the next generation of leaders coming from?
The next generation of leaders, of course, have to still come from the continent. I say to my fellow Africans, nobody's going to fix Africa for us. We have to fix it ourselves. And then people would come. So it has to come from us. Our generation and our leaders must nurture that growth. Because in 2008, I was keynote speaker for the African Union, and the heads of states were all there. And it's recorded. It was my first time in front of them. President Becky, Kikwete and others were cheering, and I was put on the podium. And I said something. I said to them, We can blame colonialism for the last 350 years, but we can't blame colonialism for the next 50 because you are in charge. And at that time, Kenya had just blown up. You remember the riots? Yes. I said, there are kids on the barricades right now, angry, because I gave a very angry, passionate speech. I say, we want to convert that energy to entrepreneurship and growth. Otherwise, with the youth bulge we see, 700 million young Africans below 30, in another 20, 25 years, they will push us all out because we failed them. Yet we have the opportunity to grow. When I finished, President Kikwete said, Dr. Yumkella, we forgive you for your anger and your passion. And I said, I just wanted to give them the anger of the youth. And at that time, I said, I'm still young. I'm just 50. You understand? At that time. And today, I believe we should be encouraging our kids that they can be corporate leaders. Say yes. You can be the next Bill Gates. It's good for them to have that ambition. You can be the next Elon Musk innovator for energy. We should inspire them that, you can be the next leader that declares his or her wealth every year. The world is not what you grew up in. There are other models that work, and that should be your ambition. Our nations can be the next Dubai. Yeah?
That's unfortunately all the time we have for this week. Join me again next week for the second part of Dr. Candy Yumkella's exhilarating story, his future, and The Scoop. From me and the entire team of The Scoop from Nairobi, Kenya, thanks for watching.